Stewards of the Land has been made possible by a grant from the Michigan Department of Agriculture, serving to promote and protect the agricultural interests of the people of the great state of Michigan.
Simply our natural resources that we have today, we are just borrowing those resources. We owe it to our children and their children to protect them so they can enjoy the resources that we do today. And I feel good that I'm actually accomplishing something for future generations.
It is from the land we harvest our bread, build our home, and secure our future. Every generation is called to use the land wisely so that it can be handed rich and fertile to the next.
It won't wash off, but you're going to dilute your Roundup. The big determinant is how big is the wheat or rye.
But the extra cost of that extra Roundup.
Mixing them all together is better than putting one on in the front and one on in the back.
In a purely agricultural community, I mean, that's really the basis or the home where conservation districts started. They started with helping farmers do conservation tillage programs. Districts were some of the first organizations in this state to pick up on that and help farmers understand that they didn't have to go over the field 15 times in order to get it ready for planting.
No-till planting, wise irrigation management, and the careful use of pesticides are but a few techniques which have allowed Michigan to preserve some of the most fertile and productive farmland in America. Recognizing the great value of intelligent and respectful land utilization, conservation districts have partnered with local landowners for over 50 years to keep the land strong.
I think what prompted it was natural disasters. In the mid-30s, we had some very severe natural disasters, and wind and water erosion were the basis of that. And remember with me back to 1936.
It was a time of unparalleled soil erosion in our country, and its impact blew all the way to the Capitol steps of Washington.
The legislation was signed in 1937 by then President Franklin Roosevelt.
To meet the problems of the nation boldly.
And then from that, all of the states were empowered to organize within the bounds of that National Enabling Act, to organize on a state level and then on a local level.
Slowly, groups of citizens began to assemble within natural county boundaries. Now, with authority from Michigan Act 297, new resources became available, and a local forum in which to cooperatively respond to land preservation needs was born. Tree rows, which are common throughout the Michigan countryside today, were in the early years of conservation districts a first response to the problem of soil erosion. As topsoil was being blown from fields as sure as sand fell through an hourglass, conservation districts began to plant countless rows of trees to protect the land.
That's been the hallmark of soil conservation when we first come in, it was to save the soil, stop the erosion. If your soil is gone, your productivity goes down, and pretty soon, you know, you can't raise anything. You've got to maintain that soil, keep it in place. That's the name of the game, really.
Today, districts are involved in numerous land management efforts, especially in the long-term care of our forests.
To try to help him just, get the maximum economic value from the trees as well.
On a fall Saturday morning, 20 landowners gather from 4 counties in southwest Michigan to learn better ways to keep their woodlands healthy.
That's a good seed producing tree as well.
Our society tends to think on the short term, unfortunately, and we really need to think on the long term. A lot of times, especially when you're managing for larger, bigger trees like oaks and maples, is a 50 to 100-year commitment. So we need to think about those things in a much longer, wider scale over many, many years and many generations.
They are refuge for wildlife and canopies for the wide-eyed wanderer. They are trees. And no other organization has done more to plant and care for them than the local conservation district.
Norwood spruce transplants. Those are over here, and I think that's that problem with the 50 that we have to break down. We need 25 red pine transplants.
We like to promote conservation programs, and planting a tree has been a big program that we've been handling for a number of years.
Let's lay it down.
And we'd like to see people be able to enhance their yard, their backyard for wildlife, or just for the beauty of nature in itself.
Okay.
Over 12 million trees are planted each year in Michigan because of the work of conservation districts.
You got a weed, cool.
Sometimes the volunteers are small, but nonetheless determined to give Mother Nature a helping hand.
Things that we do from conservation districts, and a lot of times almost insignificant, small things we do, one little project. One tree isn't a big deal, but when you send several hundred of them home every year, pretty soon we're talking thousands of trees. We're doing the things a little bit at a time that nobody really ever notices to get us to the point where we really are impacting the quality of our water and the quality of our soil and the quality of our air.
Since the outset, this dam has been a big problem. The dam itself is eroding, sediment is burying valuable trout habitat, and there were better alternatives for a watering source. So I'm pretty excited about the district's role in restoring this river. We're going to be helping to get this dam removed, reverse a lot of that damage, and literally restore this trout stream.
To understand the natural character of our state is to embrace clean water. Conservation districts work to keep our groundwater pure, our lakes alive, and our rivers flowing crystal clear. Districts often partner with other organizations in their effort to preserve the land.
When we put them into the bank or down in the water, you're going to overlap the ends. So the butt end of one, you'll overlap with the top ends of the other one. So you'll start downstream and work your way up, sort of like shingling. The roof laps over.
Okay, in this way, so we have to flip everything 180 if we have the butts running.
This riverbank project is the joint effort of the Wayne County Conservation District, the Natural Resources Conservation Service, the Detroit Parks Department, and the Friends of the Rouge River.
We got good trainers in here, and we got plenty of volunteers that want to see how this works.
We're doing some real restoration work now, and I think it's an important step, and I'm proud to be part of it.
The device here is what's called a grade stabilization structure. It's intended to try to capture runoff from this field that without this structure used to just flow right down through a gully where you now see the culvert.
Unlike the Chocolat River project, where an unwise dam caused river stagnation, this man-made structure works to retain sediment, keeping its nearby stream clean.
By putting this structure here, we're creating a place where water that's going to run off this field anyway can pond up, drop the soil that it might be carrying with it, pass the clean water safely down the grade through the culvert and let it discharge down below cleanly and then make its way into Pine Creek without bringing soil with it.
How many of you are planning to build a pond? Okay, quite a few people. How many of you have as your goal for that pond to primarily be used for swimming? How many of you would like to have a pond primarily for wildlife? Those are the two most different kinds of ponds that you could possibly have. In one instance, if you want a pond for swimming, you probably want it to have low-level.
This weekday evening pond workshop, led by Dr. Donald Garling, a water specialist from Michigan State University, is a perfect example of how districts prioritize their work around issues that directly affect their local constituents.
The conservation districts are unique because they are the only network that is complete as far as being able to deliver local natural resource programs in their counties.
Hi. Hi. I've got some old paint in my garage I want to get rid of, but I don't want to just dump it out on this ground.
There are other organizations where there might be a few scattered in different parts of the state, but the conservation districts are the only organization that have complete coverage in all 83 counties in Michigan.
And what you need to do is call this number to make an appointment.
The conservation districts are a key component of stewardship at the local level.
Conservation Office, this is Tegan.
We promote it, we help people engage in it. It's the essence of our organization. We're just one organization that really focuses on stewardship, looking at how people interact with the land and how the land impacts people both from the quality of life standpoint and from the more emotional and psychological standpoints of our tie with the earth.
All people should be involved with their local conservation districts because conservation districts are for everybody. It's not just for farmers, it's for anybody that's interested in environmental education or protecting their resources in some way.
What we're going to do is break out into 5 students in each group for your class, and each one of you are going to have a worksheet, and on the worksheet there'll be a page.
For the Schoolcraft District in the wild woods of the Upper Peninsula, land stewardship begins at a very young age.
You're going to do a diameter, tell how big the tree is around, how tall it is, and how old it is by taking a boring on it.
Okay, did you guys pick one out yet or not yet? Okay, I'm going to give you guys, I'm going to see if any of the groups have picked one out yet. You need to share this pencil and then see if you can figure out what kind of tree it is. And maybe one that's a little bit bigger, not too small, because you're going to need to figure out how old it is. You guys found one? Okay. Okay, now what you're gonna do, How many rings are in it? is count the rings. gonna count the First what we have to do is figure out where the middle is. This guy's gonna be older. Which? It's gotta be old. Okay. Uh-oh. I'm not sure where the middle on this one is, but what I'm gonna have you guys do is count all the rings that are here. Can you see how those little lines are? I can't. We won't be able to keep them in order because it doesn't.
And I think the whole notion of conservation districts is to be very quiet about what you do, to go about doing things very effectively, very efficiently. They don't have a lot of money. They take the money that they have and they spend it very wisely and very well. And for years they've been doing this, and the change in the landscape in this state is just tremendous because of the work of conservation districts.
We're going to see here the difference between these two when it rains. And you're going to see how fast this runs off compared to the field with vegetation in it. And you can see the difference in the color or the quality of the water. When these run off, they go into the streams, rivers, or lakes, or important wetlands. And you see the difference in the water quality?
Which one would you rather swim in? Right, right. And what do you think about the fish? Wouldn't they rather swim in this than have all this dirt erode into the lake?
Okay, stop right here. Do you notice something about what wildlife needs and what you need?
They're about the same.
They're about the same. They need what we need. Do we need food?
Yes.
Do we need water?
Yes.
Do we need shelter?
Yes.
And how about space?
Yes.
What they need is pretty much what we need, and that's an important thing to remember.
Why is the solar electric power supply being used? It is cheaper to use solar energy than electricity from a local power company.
Or the cow feeder is portable and can be placed anywhere in the field without stringing power lines.
That's B. What is still more?
The farmer wants to be environmental friendly to use solar power.
I'd say B.
Chemical sprays for gypsy moths would directly reduce woodpecker population.
It's cool for the adventure and for the teamwork.
I think it's so important because, I mean, if we don't use it correctly the first time, it might not be there the second time.
What factors do you need to consider to plant trees? We got this.
It's a good opportunity for us to get out here and know what is important to the land.
Oh yeah, look at it, it's all coming out now. Started.
If chocolate chips were coal and cookies were the earth, then just how should we go about mining this valuable resource?
The struggle between getting our resources out of the earth, in this case it was coal, and saving the earth is always a struggle that you're going to have to face when you're an adult. There's always a trade-off of getting our resources and saving the land in everything that we do. So when you become grown-ups, you have to become involved in this kind of thing. You can't just sit back and let someone else decide.
This is one of the 4 sacred medicines we have, and it's used in a lot of the ceremonies and the purification, the smudging, and it's used quite a bit. They were kind of worried that the sites are just being either overpicked or else it's just a change and they're just not coming up again.
Because of an inquiry that we received through the Soil and Water District in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and they, working with the Native American tribe, the Chippewa Indians there, this grass is specifically important to their culture. And what we've done is collected some of the grass from the reservation areas where they naturally collect it for their significance in their culture. And we brought it here to the Plant Materials Center, and we figured out how to propagate this material and then growing it so that it's not lost in the natural harvesting of that material.
It's a very important part of that biological balance that we need. The wildflowers are important because they eventually provide a food source for the songbirds that many of the species of game birds are dependent upon. The native grasses, which are going away, are also very important to nesting cover. There's a direct balance between the prairies themselves, the wildflowers, and the grasses that all grow in there.
Michigan, oh Michigan, may your native grasses always grow tall.
There's quite a few conservation districts in Michigan that are visionaries. They look at programs like native species, river restoration programs, innovative programs like that. But I'm really proud of all the conservation districts because they're all there, they're all grassroots people, they're all there for the main reason of taking care of the land.
And I see conservation districts as being the natural lead team member.
All in favor of the treasurer's report being approved, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
It's a local unit of government, governed by 5-member board of directors. But it's not like a regular governmental organization. It's not a bureaucracy in any sense of the word. It really is a grassroots organization where they draw upon other folks. They work with other volunteer organizations, bring them in to help people manage the resources.
It is Saturday morning, and the local district groundwater specialist stops by a Centennial farm to close an old well that is no longer being used.
Okay, where's the well at?
Well, it's behind this plywood stuff. Right here.
Do you have any idea how deep it is?
No, I don't.
Whether you live on a 1,000-acre farm or on a 50 by 100 lot or in an apartment, you are a land user. And what you do in relation to the land affects the resource.